From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fairbanks Evening News Weekend Edition.
Good evening and welcome to the Saturday edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. I'm Katie Looper. Our top story tonight. Alaska State Troopers responded to a report of a home invasion around 2 a.m. this morning. Troopers say a man forced his way into the residence and took an undisclosed amount of money. A resident of the home was reportedly assaulted during the robbery. The suspect was described as a Caucasian male, about 25 years old, between 5 feet 6 inches and 6 feet tall, medium build, wearing a dark winter coat, dark pants, and a white and black bandana covering his face. Anyone with information is asked to contact the Alaska State Troopers at 451-5100. And a Fairbanks man accused of shooting a reality TV star to death has been released from custody. 44-year-old Major Workman left the Fairbanks Correctional Center yesterday after posting $60,000 bail. He is charged with first-degree murder, accused of killing 60-year-old Jimmy Gatos in Fox last May. According to court records, Workman shot Gatos after he sprayed Workman's dog with pepper spray. Yesterday, President Obama commuted the sentences of 95 nonviolent drug offenders nationwide, and 2 were from Alaska. Raymond Allen Thomas of Fairbanks had his 22-year sentence from 2005 for possession with intent to distribute commuted. Alex Contreras was 19 in 2002 when he was sentenced in U.S. District Court in Anchorage to 40 years in prison. He was part of a group of men, mostly from the Dominican Republic, who were convicted of operating a crack cocaine ring in Anchorage. Both men will be out of jail on April 16th. The president said they are moving to reform sentencing for nonviolent drug offenders at the federal level.
If we can show at the federal level that we can be smart on crime, more cost effective, more just, more proportionate, then we can set a trend for other states to follow as well.
Opinions are sprouting up everywhere over Governor Walker's proposed income tax and permanent fund dividend changes. We took to the streets to ask folks from the interior what they think. A majority of residents we spoke to were against Walker's plan on dipping into the PFD and suggested that he cut the fat on government jobs and spending and put an end to special projects. Other Alaskans were for the state using the PFD, saying that the dividend was made to be used in times of struggle and income tax was inevitable. While both sides of the issue were expressed, all those in favor of Governor Walker's plan declined interview with us.
That's really not right. I mean, especially living in Alaska, we need that extra money for fuel, and it's just a different situation than other states.
Well, Governor Walker has absolutely not learned how to stop spending. In my opinion, he started with the Medicaid expansion, which is going to cost the state an enormous amount of money. There are many projects that should be put on hold if we can't afford to do them.
And now that it's come to not spending oil money anymore and it's actually going to come out of the public's pocket, I think that it's really time to evaluate where monies can be trimmed from what we're spending on.
I see more funding going out the door for special projects instead of looking at those special projects as being put on hold permanently.
Well, if the legislature had chosen to expend funds a little bit more appropriately, we would have had more of a budget surplus and a reserve fund, and we wouldn't be quite in this crisis area.
I think it's going to take away from families that, especially at that time of the year, could use it. A lot of us are seasonal workers, and I just don't agree with it. I think he needs to think of another way to do it.
A Christmas open house was held for veterans downtown on Friday. Veterans of all services and conflicts were invited to stop by between 11:30 and 2 to visit and have lunch. The Vet Center provides counselors to help military combat veterans deal with post-traumatic stress and other problems. The VET program was established by Congress in 1979 in response to the readjustment problems that a significant number of Vietnam-era veterans were continuing to experience after their return from combat. In consecutive years, Congress extended eligibility to World War II and Korean combat veterans and to veterans who served in conflicts after Vietnam. A volunteer at the center said these types of events are important for the veterans.
Just to give back and to show support, and we're such a small community that we need to support each other and be there and just help out the vets as much as we can.
When we come back, we spotlight another one of the 21 agencies that make up the United Way of the Tanana Valley. We'll have the details. Also, the Fairbanks Community Museum is expanding to make room for more exhibits. Those stories and more when we return. Stay with us. Welcome back. Belle Mickelson first came to Alaska in the 1970s, residing in Cordova for 40 years and eventually moving to Fairbanks to become a UAF professor. Since then, she has embarked on a crusade to visit communities in rural Alaska to teach kids music and at the same time lessen the opportunities for suicides in younger adults. Her program, called Dance Spirit, has resulted in a national campaign that earned her an award for social innovators over 60 years old who are making significant impacts in their communities.
We mostly go to small villages where there's like 10 to 40 kids in the school, and we reach about 700 kids a year. I figure we've touched at least 2,000 kids' lives, plus their whole community. And we spend at least 20 weeks in the villages.
The Fairbanks North Star Borough is being recognized as a place where work in science and technology thrives. The Alaska Committee on Research, a state government advisory body, is officially dubbing the borough as a model community of excellence in research. A letter of recognition was sent to the Fairbanks Economic Development Corporation announcing the distinction. A statement from the committee says it's recognizing the interior region because of its commitment to promoting innovative development among both industry and education leaders. Fedco President Jim Dodson says work involving unmanned aerial vehicles, Arctic research, and university partnerships were some of the achievements taken into consideration during the nomination process. Dodson says the acknowledgement will put the region's potential on display and may help develop a more diversified state economy.
Institutions like the University of Alaska Fairbanks are so important to Alaska's economy, particularly Alaska's future economy, because we're right now in the middle of the transition of recognizing that we need to diversify our economy, off of just oil, and find new places to create jobs. And research is it's going to be one of the main avenues in the future.
The Fairbanks Community Museum is expanding for the first time since they moved to the Co-op Plaza earlier this year from their previous location at Old City Hall. The museum is bringing back its recreated miner cabin to the second floor of the plaza. The section of miner cabin features artifacts that miners used during Alaska Gold Rush. The mining display is next to a new art exhibit featuring local artists and also a gift shop. Museum President Bob Elay says he hopes the expanding wing will bring back visitors new and old.
It was a big draw when our museum was in Old City Hall, and I think it'll get some people to come back in here and check it out. And same thing with the art room. We didn't really have a good place in the main exhibit area to have art, and now we kind of have our own separate little area.
It's time once again to spotlight one of the 21 agencies that make up the United Way of the Tanana Valley. Tonight, the North Star Youth Court. Mike Schultz has the story.
The North Star Youth Court was founded in 1996, and the goal is to help youth offenders be fully restored to the community. Jazanne Gordon-Fretwell is the executive director, and she says there are several ways the United Way donations help the youth court.
Oh my goodness. Well, they fund our substance abuse program, so that's one way. And what we have is a class where people who get substance abuse offenses come and they're taught by their peers, along with an adult, about why that's not a good thing, about the harm that can come to them, about the community, the effects of drugs and alcohol on their bodies. So they help fund that. And then they also contribute to our general program. So again, that's for misdemeanors that are non-drug related.
I next asked Jazanne what makes her most proud of what the kids do for other kids in the community.
All the youth that come through this program are just really awesome young people. That's the people that are on the side of having an offense and our volunteers. So just to see them gain their leadership skills, gain confidence in themselves, I mean the amazing things they do. Our youth just recently basically planned our gala. That's our volunteers. We have a lot of our offenders, I shouldn't say a lot, some of our offenders actually come into our program, and so we get to see them thrive. But our recidivism rates are just really, really good, so they don't commit other crimes after they come through us, and that's really something to be proud of.
Finally, during her time with the North Star Youth Court, what has been the most fulfilling moment for her?
I actually recently talked to a young man that went through youth court, some years ago, and he's a big climate person now, and he's going to college, and he's just really, really, really doing really great things. So again, when I met him, I was just like, oh, that's wonderful. So yeah, so it is a good thing.
The United Way campaign continues into early next year, and remember, all donations stay in the community. Mike Schultz reporting.
Mike Fussel's coming up next with all your local sports action. Stay tuned.
Welcome back, Interior Alaska. Mike Fussell here with your latest local sports action. Some athletes are checking out as their seasons come to a close, but others are just getting started. And some local runners, well, they braved the elements earlier today. It was all part of the 27th annual George Bloom Memorial Midday Sun Run. Racers pushed away from the starting line outside of the Patty Center to begin the 6.4-mile trek. The course looped through the hills near the university and finished right where it all began. The top spot came down to two runners who were just seconds apart. Dan Bishop ended up pushing hard during the last several hundred meters of the race, creating separation and taking the win. Bishop finished with a time of 45 minutes and 3 seconds. Nick Shamrell was the next to cross the line. Shamrell came through just 30 seconds later. The third place competitor finished more than a minute after that. Midday Sun Run champion Bishop says his strategy was to keep his pace down until the second half of the course.
Well, it was a beautiful day for a run. The temperatures were warm, so at this time of year sometimes we end up running at 40 below. And today I was able to run with just light gloves and light clothing. I just tried to take it easy for the first half of the run and then push myself towards the end. So had a great run, and yeah, I pretty much just stayed right behind Nick for the first half of the race, and then I started to push myself a little bit more and gradually pulled away from him over the second half of the race.
And the high school basketball season kicked off last night at many different schools throughout the interior. The Lathrop Malamute boys hosted the Eielson Ravens for their silent night game honoring the late Joe T. The crowd was dealt a difficult task of staying completely quiet until either team reached 10 points. Lathrop would pull ahead, relieving the crowd at the end of the first quarter and tally 31 points in the half compared to Eielson's 11. The Ravens were not able to catch up and would ultimately lose 60-40. Gabe Howard was a major contributor, scoring 20 points on the night for the Mutes. And at Monroe, the Rams battled it out with the North Pole Patriots. Both teams found themselves in an early defensive battle, but the home team would pull away on an 18-4 run in the first quarter. Monroe Catholic would be up by 20 at the half and finish on top with a score of 69-41. The West Valley Wolfpack also dominated on the court. They beat the Hutchinson Hawks 92-35. And the local girls basketball teams were also shaking off the rust for opening night yesterday evening. The Lathrop Lady Malamutes took on Eielson. They pushed hard on all sides of the ball, racking up a number of steals. They would go into the half with a comfortable lead and only extend it throughout the rest of the game. Mackenzie Warner was on fire from the perimeter, and Cheyenne Dybert made her presence known in the paint. Lathrop takes the win by more than 50 points, 76-25. The Monroe Catholic Rams also found themselves on the upside of a blowout. A strong performance from junior Maya Hadukovic helped the Rams far ahead of the North Pole Patriots. Defense was also key. Monroe held the Pats to 0 points in the final quarter. The Rams get the victory 49-18. West Valley also posted a win of more than 20 points. The Pack took it over the Hutchinson Hawks 65-43. And high school wrestlers are on the big stage this weekend at the ASAA Championships in Anchorage and Chugiak. The 1 through 3A girls division are battling through their brackets at Bartlett High School. Jonathan St. Andre of Isleson has claimed a third-place finish at 113 pounds with a 6-3 decision. Caleb Dunlap also takes home a bronze medal with a 4-2 decision at 132. Kaylee Folks of North Pole made it to the finals, grabbing second place at the 106-pound girls division. Lathrop is in third place overall as teams head into the finals in the big school division with 208 points. They are 30 points away from South Anchorage in first and only trailing Colony by 2 points for second. Lathrop has wrestlers left in the tournament seeking a first place finish. North Pole is in a distant fifth. All right, and that about brings us to the buzzer for sports tonight. Katie Looper has your full weather forecast coming up next. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next weekend. Welcome back to our Saturday edition. You know, there wasn't a lot of daylight out there, but for what we had, it was a pretty nice day.
Yeah, I mean, we're down to 3 hours, 45 minutes, but thankfully things are going to change on Tuesday. We'll start going back around the other way, gaining light instead of losing it.
Right, get out there, catch as many rays as you can.
Exactly. All right, well, let's take a look at the almanac for today. We had a recent high of 5, recent low of 13 below. Record high got up to 40 in 1985, and record low 52 below in 1933. Sun rose around 11 this morning, sets at 2:41 this afternoon. Daylight, 3 hours, 43 minutes. And around the state today, temperatures in the mid-30s for Juneau and Ketchikan. Anchorage is partly cloudy with around 27, same with Kodiak at 34. Cloudy skies in Cold Bay at 31, same up there in Barrow, 2 below for them. And in the Fairbanks interior region, 3 degrees and partly sunny skies. For our lower 48 weather, we can see rain showers in Seattle at 47 degrees, a little sunnier in Vegas and Phoenix in the mid-50s to 60s. As we look over to the east, Dallas is raining around 63, New Orleans partly sunny at around 58, and same with Miami at 76, and New York 41. All right, for earlier next week, we can see snow is going to be expected on our west side of the states, cooler as we go down south, chilly in the Midwest, rain in our deep south up through the north, and then milder temperatures on our east coast, and nice warm weather for the Miami area. Now back in Alaska on our north slope, mostly cloudy across the region, temperatures around 5 below for Barrow and Fort Yukon, and 21 in Nome. For our interior region, mostly cloudy, and flurries are expected in Fairbanks. Temperatures around 0 for Fairbanks and Delta, and about 10 in Healy. On our southeast side of the state, rain and snow at Juneau, periods of rain for Ketchikan, temperatures in the mid-30s. On our west side of the state, we can see rain and snow, showers at Cold Bay and Kodiak, snow in Bethel, temperatures around 38 for Cold Bay and Kodiak, and 27 in Bethel. Now lastly, for our south central region, snow predicted across the area, and temperatures around 30 for Anchorage and Valdez, and 35 in Homer. Now for tonight's forecast, about 10 below, pretty cold, partly cloudy. Tomorrow we can expect temperatures around 0, mostly cloudy with flurries. And lastly, for our extended outlook, we can see things up until Thursday are going to get much colder, about 15 below. And for our nightly temperatures, about 10 to 30 below. So it's not looking too good for Christmas.
Yeah, 30 below going into Christmas, it's not a good treat to have, but hey, that's kind of typical, right?
Yeah, it's pretty typical for this time of year, and I'm sure most of us are going to be warm inside, enjoying lots of food.
Yeah, maybe Santa will give us a surprise.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it.
Well, let's hope. All right, well, that'll wrap up this Saturday edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We're glad you could join us.
Join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at webcenter11.com.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a good night and a good rest of your weekend.